You are listening to episode 144 of the Autism Mom Coach, Surviving the Holiday Stretch, Thanksgiving to December. Welcome to the Autism Mom Coach podcast. I am your host, Lisa Candera. I am a lawyer, a life coach, and most importantly, I am the full-time single mother of a teenager with autism. In this podcast, I am going to share with you the tools and strategies you need so you can fight like hell for your child without burning out. Let's get to it. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the podcast. I am so glad you are here, and I hope you are doing well. Before we get to today's topic, I want to let you know that I have some openings for new clients to begin in January, and I would love for you to be one of them. If you've been listening to this podcast and my message resonates with you, what I teach resonates with you, this is just the beginning. When I work with clients one-on-one, you get my undivided attention, tailored advice to your specific situation, and comprehensive support. This is your opportunity to quickly change the trajectory of your autism parenting experience. So if you've been feeling like you're on a hamster wheel and you want to break the cycles of the stress, anxiety, and burnout that you were experiencing as an autism parent, this is the perfect opportunity for you. Schedule your consultation now and let's talk about what you're struggling with or where you just want to do better and you want to up level as an autism parent. You want to feel more confident. You want to make those hard decisions without constantly second guessing yourself. And you want to stop questioning whether you're doing enough or the right things. Schedule your consultation now at my website, theautismmomcoach.com. The link is in the show notes. This is your opportunity to start 2025 on a different note. And just imagine what life will look like for you and for your child when you know exactly what to do, when you feel confident in yourself and you know how to regulate yourself and calm yourself so that you have the capacity to help your child and support them when they struggle. We do all of this and more inside of my program. So again, schedule your consultation now, and I can't wait to talk to you. On to today's episode, which I am calling Surviving the Holiday Stretch. I originally considered calling this the time of the year when all kids lose their minds because in my experience, that is what the time between Thanksgiving and the December holiday breaks is. I remember this from when my son was really young. He came home one day in first grade and they had had some sort of community assembly and his class got called out by the principal for being extra noisy during the transition. And when they got back to this classroom, the teacher was talking to them about appropriate behavior during assemblies, all that kind of stuff. And then she ended it by saying, well, what do I expect? You all have the Christmas crazies. And my son thought that was hilarious. And I thought it was so fitting. And so from that point on, we would call the time after December and before Christmas, the Christmas crazies, because everything was just out of sorts. And this isn't just for children with autism, but we all know that change impacts our kids even more. So why is this the time of the year when all kids lose their minds? Well, there's a few factors. There are shifts in the school routine, things like community assemblies, field trips, parties, increased social expectations. This is especially so I noticed as my son got older, there would be things like winter dances or the theater or musical presentations. And then everything is just louder and busier. There's lots of decorations, there's lots of lights, there's lots of new noises, unfamiliar smells, crowded environments. And then to top all of this off, for many kids, there is that anticipation about Christmas or Hanukkah, whatever gifts they will be getting, what they hope they will be getting. Is Santa going to bring them what they want? Does Santa exist? You name it. All of that adds to the soup that tends to make our children extra rambunctious during this time of year. So what to do? The first thing here is to recognize that this is a thing. I have been coaching my clients on this for the last 2 weeks, especially my clients of younger children. This is a thing. It is not regression. Now, this doesn't mean that every child experiences this all of the time. But if your child is experiencing it, if they're a little bit more rambunctious, if they're having more meltdowns, if they are out of sorts in any way, this could be why. This is important for you to recognize because what I have seen in every instance of a child doing quote unquote well and then not doing quote unquote well, parents think it's a regression. That is not what regression is. Your child will have ups and downs. They will be impacted by their environment. And at this time of the year, there are tons of things in their environment that will impact them. Second, prepare yourself. So before we even talk about prepping your child, we need to focus on ourselves because we are the anchor for our kiddos. If we are feeling frazzled, our kids pick up on that. So that's why it's important for us to ground ourselves as much as possible. 3 ways that you can do this is 1, predict and plan. Acknowledge this stretch might be challenging. Map out what the major events are or the disruptions ahead. Just that acknowledgement alone will prepare you. You won't feel like everything that's happening is happening to you. It will feel more predictable to you if you are planning for it and you're expecting it. But on this note, when you're predicting and planning, you can also be really scrupulous with your schedule about the things that you say yes to, the things that you do, and the things that you don't do. Because as a baseline, you and your child will be exposed to more sensory stimuli, expectations, all of that during this time of the year. So you really do get to choose. And I suggest that you do what to say no to so that every moment isn't accounted for and you can actually breathe. 2, regulate your nervous system. You can do this in a number of ways, but one of the easiest, fastest ways you can do it is by pausing and taking slow, deep breaths. Signal to your brain and your body that you are safe. When you are feeling safe, when you are feeling calm, when you are feeling in control, you have access to your rational thinking and your ability to make rational, reasonable decisions. And then 3, and this is really important, lower your expectations. Remind yourself that it's okay if everything isn't perfect. The goal for you or for your child is not to experience life as if your child didn't have autism. They do have autism. That autism will impact them and therefore you in a number of ways. And I think that when you lower your expectations, I am not talking about your expectations of your child or not having expectations, really more so like right sizing your expectations. What is a reasonable expectation for me, for myself, for my child, given everything that is happening? And the more that you can do that, the less pressure you put on yourself and on your child to have experiences in the way that you think that you should. Okay, so now what can you do to help your kiddo navigate this stretch between Thanksgiving break and December break? Well, first, wherever possible, maintain predictability. One of the first things that you can do is to prepare your child for the expected changes in schedules and routines. You can do this with visual schedules, calendars, social stories, or role play. There are all sorts of ways that you can prepare your child ahead of time to know what to expect. 2, build in quiet time. No matter what you have scheduled for the holiday season, try to make sure that not every minute is accounted for, or at least that you have made room for your child to take breaks. Whether this is during Christmas dinner at a family member's house, them having a place that they can go so that they can get away from everyone and just have some time to themselves, or if it's a couple of days between big events so that they can readjust and then build themselves back up again in order to have more capacity to do the next thing. I know for my son and I, we would do Christmas Eve and Christmas Day with the families. But for 2 days after Christmas, we basically spent that at home playing with toys. We really didn't do much else. And that was a fantastic way of taking a deep breath out after all of the hoopla leading up to Christmas, the traveling, the shopping, all of it. 3rd, always have on hand things that will comfort or that can help your child deal with sensory overload. Anything to help them calm down, from noise canceling headphones to favorite sensory toys to favorite comfort items like a teddy bear, a stuffed animal, or anything that brings them comfort. This could be a book, this could be a picture album, it could be a stuffed animal. Have those things on hand so that your child can turn to them when they are feeling overwhelmed. I know for my son, one of the things that he's loved to do for the past couple of years is just scroll on the photos on his phone. He loves looking at pictures. And I notice sometimes when he's getting anxious or upset that he'll do that. And speaking of, another great thing to have on hand is music. If your child takes to music, if they find that calming, that is a great item to have in your calm down kit. But despite all of the best laid plans, there will be moments when things don't go as expected. Maybe your child has a meltdown. Maybe you feel like you're stretched too thin. When this happens, the first thing to do is pause, slow it down. When you get into that fight flight state or your child gets into that fight flight state, everything gets faster. So in order to counteract that, pause and slow things down. Take deep breaths, slow everything down, stop talking, stop moving, and just take that time to pause and regulate yourself. Number 2, adjust on the fly. This is one of the many superpowers of autism parents. We know how to pivot on a dime. Remind yourself that this is a skill and not a failure if you have to leave something early or cancel plans. And then finally, reflect. Don't blame. After a tough moment, reflect on what went well and reflect on what you might do differently in the future, but avoid blaming yourself or your child. All right, that wraps it up for today's episode. If you found this helpful, please share it with another autism mom. Thanks, and I will talk to you next week. Thanks for listening to the Autism Mom Coach. If you are ready to apply the principles you are learning in these episodes to your life, it is time to schedule a consultation call with me. Podcasts are great, but the ahas are fleeting. Real change comes from application and implementation, and this is exactly what we do in my one-on-one coaching program. To schedule your consultation, go to my website, theautismmomcoach.com, work with me, and take the first step to taking better care of yourself so that you can show up as the parent you want to be for your child with autism.